Marry the results, not the process. This is one of the most important, impactful statements you can know for wholesaling success. The truth here is so many wholesalers marry and fall in love with the process of wholesaling, but never the results. And what I mean by this is so many people are married, like they got the ring on the finger, they are like committed to the process that they are doing to become successful. And the thing about it is you should never be married to the process. You should always be like a scientist. When new facts emerge that change the understanding and beliefs that we have about the universe, we should change them too. For example, right, if all we know in wholesaling is cold calling, and we figure out this new strategy, I don't know, like SMS text blasting is superior, we can't say, no, all I'm doing is cold calling. You should be able to test out the SMS and see which one does better. And whatever works, we keep, and we ditch what doesn't work. The thing about wholesaling real estate is I've tried so many marketing channels. I've tried so many dang marketing lists. And what I've found is if I kept what works and removed what doesn't work, I will become the best wholesaler possible. That's just how I run my wholesaling business. So I first started out in wholesaling, right, just only doing bandit signs. And those are fine, right? You stick them in the ground outside the high school wrestling tournaments. But eventually they started not to work because, fun fact, I actually had code enforcement hire 5 people for a special department just for me because I was putting so many dang bandit signs out. Now that destroyed my entire business and I decided to test more things, and cold calling seemed to work really well and I stuck with that until I eventually had to go to college, and then I had to figure out what in the world to do. I figured out virtual wholesaling was a thing, cold call virtual wholesaling, cha-ching, made it work. The thing about it is I always run my businesses as just perfecting the little thing every single time, right? If you look at the top companies in the world, right? They introduce a product and then they just perfect it. They sometimes create new ones, but they pretty much just perfect it, right? Think of the Corvette or a Porsche or even the iPhone, right? They don't invent new devices usually, right? Sometimes they do, like an Apple Watch, iPod, stuff like that, but the iPhone's always just been an integral thing and they've just improved it year over year. And when you do that, you don't need to reinvent the new wheel. So in your wholesaling business, if you just improve your processes, right? Let's say you can grow your revenue 10%, right? Year over year, you can double your business every 7.2 years. That means if you're in business for 30 years, you can 5x what you're making now. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're making $1 million, that can turn into $5 million by the time you're a little older. The thing about it is if you just improve 10% year over year, you double it every 7.2 years. It's pretty dang impressive. Same thing when you're looking to build like a rental portfolio. If it goes up 10% a year, 7.2, you double it. So what I found is a lot of your success is going to come from reps and just getting better and better and better. And of course, the process is a really important thing here, but you should also be very aware of the fact that you need to be testing like crazy. You need to be a mad scientist per se when it comes to wholesaling. You gotta see what's new and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Recently this year, I started something called email blasting, where I taught you guys how to go inside of Gmail and start using the mail merge functions with Google's new development software that they actually made, not me, right? So Google made this, where you can email blast completely for free, thousands of emails every single day. Well, I was like, I want this to work, but is it going to work? I don't know. Well, I tested it out. I started doing deals from it, and then I publicly gave it out. I called it my EOG system, my email offer generator. And guess what happened with the email offer generator? It blew up and you guys became super successful with it. Now, it's not something that it should be your entire business, but something to think about is if you add it on and see if it's working, give it at least a month or two or even 3 months. I'd say do 100,000 emails, which will cost no money, by the way. This is a great system to start getting success. You can fall in love with the process, and that is a way to become successful, but you shouldn't marry this process. Now, most of your success in wholesaling is going to be from just doing the work when you don't want to do it, right? One of my favorite Muhammad Ali quotes is, he starts counting his reps after he starts getting tired, right? So he might do 10, 15, 30 reps, and now he's starting to get sore and hurt. Then he starts counting it from there. Now, it's one of my favorite quotes because this exactly works in cold calling. This exactly works for SMS or making offers because it keeps you consistent, right? Because when you don't want to do it and you keep doing it, That's how you build that mental resilience, right? Because most people can't cold call 3, 4, 5 hours a day. Because after hour 1, hour 2, it mentally gets in you that you should stop. If you push past that limiting belief in your mind, you'll become way more successful than you ever dreamed of. And if you can do it as efficient as possible, you'll be doing better and better. The reason why I tell you to put so many reps in for cold calling and texting is because you can do so much testing with all those reps. So if you cold call a bunch of code violations, right? You cold call thousands of code violations, thousands of probates, thousands of fire damage properties, thousands of drawing for dollars, right? And just thousands of liens and thousands of bankruptcies, and you just test every single one, you're gonna find that, hey, this list performs way better than all the other lists. So let's keep what's working and remove what doesn't. There's so much testing to be done because those are just lists. What about we text the code violations, text the pre-foreclosures, right? Text the arrest record list, text the water shutoff list. What works best for texting? What works best for cold calling? What works best for cold emailing? There's so much testing we can do. And it does take time, but if you push a lot of reps and you do all this testing, you're gonna do well. Now, if you wanna know my super secret tactic for testing, where you can get like triple the amount of testing in an hour than the average person does in 10 hours, let me tell you right now. What this ultrasonic testing is marrying the results. Just like, you see how I'm tying this all together? Telling you, big brain, 4D chess with this video today. But what I mean by marrying the results is, okay, if somebody comes to me and they're making 200 grand a year wholesaling, right? And they're like, Zach, how do I make more money? I physically have no time. All I do is call all these different lists. I always laugh. I'm like, this is so simple. And they're like, what do you mean, Zach? What, hire more people? I'm like, no. Just give me, how many deals did you do last year? And they're like, well, I did 15 deals. I'm like, okay, do me a favor. I want to get the address of every single deal you've done. Tell me what marketing channel and what marketing list. And you're like, why do you need to know those 3 things? Don't you want to know how I offered or the cash buy? I'm like, no, just give me those 3 things. And they're like, okay. And I get the spreadsheet and I'm like, okay, so this is the list, this is the channel, and this is the address. The thing about this is how I can triple my result is I'm like, okay, it looks like 80% of your deals come from only X leads lists, not government lists, but only X leads lists. And they're like, yes, the high equities and the vacants. I'm like, okay, great. It looks like 80% of all your deals come from texting, not even cold calling. I'm like, well, how much of your time is spent texting? And they're like, well, I only spend about 10% of my time texting. So you only spend 10% of your time texting, but that's where 80% of your deals come from? Whoa, right? And then it goes to the areas. And I'm like, well, where in Houston are you wholesaling? They're like, well, I wholesale all over Harris County. But 80% of my deals only come from 2 zip codes out of the 30 that I market. So I'm like, so you're spending 8% of your time in just 2 zip codes, but those are where you're getting most of your wholesaling deals? And this is what I tell everyone to do. I'm like, okay, what you need to do is go harder on the paint on these specific zip codes where you're getting most of your deals, expand the X leads list more, and just remove the rest. And what happens is you automatically double the amount of deals you do. Now, I know that sounds insane. I know that doesn't seem scientific, but it is, because that is just what's working. It's like, I love using sports as an example, right? It's like, wow, when we run a zone defense, we win about 70% of our games. And when we run a man defense, we only win 20% of our games. Or when we run zone, the opponent scores 20 points per game, but when we run man, our opponent scores 40. Well, we should probably run more zone than man defense. I mean, this is just simple stuff. It's like, hey, business 101. When we double our prices, customers still buy our products at the same amount. That makes sense. But if they don't, then you should look at the numbers here. You see, just focusing on what works, like when you go and look at your results, look at where most of the deals are coming from. And if you test everything and then you see the results, keep what's working, remove what's not, and just do more than what is working. I'm a big proponent of this, right? So I have tested, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of different markets and cities across the United States. And what I could tell you is the ones where I always have success are going to have a population over 100 grand and a median home price under 500,000. That is just what I found. I've also found I have a 70% success rate virtually wholesaling in cities that have military bases or what are considered military towns, right? Fayetteville, North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Columbus, Georgia, Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area. And I've had even more success. I know this sounds crazy, but like, guys, this is 8 years of me just putting all my work and effort into this, is if there is a population over 100,000 in a city and there's not an NBA, NHL, or NBA team, the chance of success for wholesaling also doubles than if there was one there. I know that sounds insane, but I'm doing really good in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and there ain't no professional team there. There ain't no professional teams out here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, I guess you could technically say college football, but I don't think that counts. But like doing areas that aren't well known by other virtual wholesalers, you're just frankly gonna have less competition and the same amount of buyers are there. It's always about finding where there's a ton of cash buyers versus the amount of wholesalers. If there's more buyers than wholesalers, it's usually a little better. The thing about wholesaling is, the reason I tell you not to marry the process is, your process in wholesaling, I promise you, is going to change in the next 5 years. Wholesaling is an ever-moving game. Real estate is an ever-moving game. Have you ever seen interest rates? It goes up and down and left and right and this way. It's all over the board. The game's always changing in real estate. And that's not a problem, guys. We have real estate books from the 50s, 60s, and 70s here. And I promise you, they had to deal with change all the dang time. We still have change to this day. Tomorrow, something crazy in the news could happen and real estate changes again. It's not particularly a bad thing. Change is the only thing that is constant in this business. It's the only thing that stays the same is change. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Remember, in wholesaling real estate, we make money when the market goes up and down. When it goes sideways, it kind of gets a little difficult to do. So we're always going to make money in this business. But the money always comes from you taking consistent action. And consistency is when you do stuff you don't want to do for a very long dang time. So I always use this equation when it comes to achieving the results you want. And so when I say marry the results, well, how do you get results? Well, results come from action, not from a process, action. So action equals results. I always say this, but action equals results. So if you want results in your wholesaling business, you got to take the action. And most importantly, you can reverse engineer your exact income for wholesaling. So you might say, Zach, I want to make $40,000 this month in wholesaling. I say, perfect. Well, it looks like you're looking at the results and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see the results. Yay, yay, yay. That's fine. We can go look at the 40,000 and feel good about it, but we should focus on the action it takes. Now, there's a lot of psychological studies on this, but do you know when someone says they're going to do something, they get the same dopamine hit as if they actually did it? For example, I'm going to become a millionaire. When you say that, you almost get the same amount of dopamine as if you actually did it because your brain's weird. So everyone goes in la la land dopamine rush when they want to become a millionaire and say it. That's why they get dopamine when they tell people, I'm going to be a wholesaler. I'm in real estate investing. I'm going to become rich doing wholesaling. You get dopamine hits doing it. But what you need to do is just stop focusing on the results, right? You want to figure out the action it takes to become successful or what you want to achieve. So if you want to make $40,000, let's call 3,000 probates, code violations, and fire damage properties, and maybe drying for dollars list. Let's call 3,000 that. Oh, no one says, I can't wait to call 3,000 motivated sellers. No one does that, but they say, I can't wait to make 40 grand. You see the difference? Everyone's so happy and in love with the result, but the work, it's never fun. I want to get a six-pack. I want to diet really hard and run 6 miles a day. Those are not the same things, right? But to get the six-pack, you have to do that. People are so strange, and that's not a problem. We just kind of have to reverse our brains so we actually become successful. So fall in love with what actually is going to work, what is actually going to get you money, or what's actually going to make you a success. So for example, I've tried a lot of things because I'm always testing things out, and a lot of these things have failed. I wouldn't be too off to say that most of the things I've tried have failed. Facebook ads, PPC, PPL, and so many dang lists I've tried. And they all failed me greatly. But the ones that are home runs, they were the best. Jeff Bezos said this, and it's one of my favorite quotes from him. But he said business and risks and ideas is just like baseball, where you could strike out more times than not, but if you hit a home run, that's all that matters. And so, for example, the greatest baseball players of all time, the greatest hitters, they got on base, their on base percentage was under 40%, right? So if they could hit the ball and go and get at least one at bat, at least 30% of the time, they're one of the greatest baseball players of all time on average. So if they have a 30% success rate and they're one of the best, just think about that. Now think about this too. How successful would people be in baseball is if there was no strikes. Think about that, for example. They could just let as many pitches come by as possible. And when the right pitch happens, they can hit it, right? That would kind of break baseball. Like the on-base percentage would probably triple, right? But the cool part about business is you could have all these ideas. You could keep trying wholesaling, right? You could keep trying these businesses out. And you only have to swing at the ball that you actually want to hit. And the cool part is even if you swing and miss, guess what? There's no strikes. Nobody really knows about your failures unless they're public or you get arrested or something. But like you can have as many at-bats as possible in wholesaling. Every day is a new day. And you're never going to strike out unless you just walk off the field and you're done. So keep the winners and remove the losers. As long as you keep testing and you never quit and you just keep trying, you're going to get the results that you're supposed to marry and have success. So guys, if you got any value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.